everyone, I introduce you to Moses from ALEXpay, one of the biggest new kids on the block to watch. Not very new, but yes, new because they've chosen to be very subtle about what they've been doing and making very silent waves. So I'll let you give us an opportunity and share a little bit about ALEXpay as a company and what it's doing.
Well, thank you very much, Fatima. It's been a pleasure. And ALEXpay is, like you said, the new kid on the block. We've been in the market in Ghana for the last 2.5 years. Launched in September of 2017 on the back of the fact that we didn't have an interoperable platform in Ghana. Many people could not send money across network, and so we decided to build a gateway or a platform that allowed people to be able to do that, to not just send money across network, but also to send airtime, and you know, it grew in 2017 very organically. So we've been very quietly growing our business, and today we actually have a lot of add-on services. We've developed a very fantastic platform that actually goes beyond just sending money within Ghana, and now even have a cross-border functionality. We've developed, and I say that we've developed on the back of becoming a most social intervene platform.
That's great, because I think in today's world everything's just been about money.
Absolutely.
And with ALEXpay, you can see, I mean, with the recent launches, stuff that you've been doing, especially like the crowdfunding and, you know, being able to get people to make payments towards causes. Tell us a little bit about that, because you don't see that happening.
You know, I come from the UN system. In fact, growing up, I come from one of the most deprived areas, and I remember that the only way that I got to meet my financial obligation, even as a student, was through the generosity of people. But the generosity of people did not come in one bread or one basket. So for me, that concept was the concept of crowdfunding is to be able to harmonize every single collection or every single contribution from individuals to be able to support a particular cause. In fact, we've seen around the world the benefit of, let's say, GoFundMe, right? We've seen Keto from India. We've seen a lot of other crowdfunding successes. We've seen even the Susu within our women.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, and so for me, it was just to formalize and digitalize it and make it more even simpler for Ghanaians and Africans to be able to call a crowdfunding platform their own and link it to what is already traditionally accepted, which is mobile money.
So that's excellent, because there's that whole localization to things, which is what I think Africa needs today.
Absolutely.
Talking about that, what is your view right now in terms of regulation? For example, taking into account this area, I mean, we know what people do with, I don't want to name the other brands or players, but if we look at, for example, from an Africa context, M-Pesa, you know, there's this whole rumor that they might be taken over at some point by ALEPay or whatever. And you being this local grown player, just as much as they were, but you can see the angle of the localization used. How do you think regulation plays or is going to play into that? Because obviously the larger you grow, the more exposed you get, and the radar then comes onto you.
Yeah, I think that the issue of regulation has been discussed over the years, and it varies from country to country. In the case of Africa, where regulation is just beginning to take shape, right? I think that we have been deprived for a very long time on adequate regulations to protect the local interest. And now that we are even discussing those regulations, we're even becoming more exposed that many foreign companies are actually beginning to look at us as not just competition out there, but as that partner locally that they can dominate.
Absolutely.
Okay? So for me, I have consistently said this, that if we are even developing our regulations, we need to be mindful of the fact that we are protecting our local ones and making our local ones, giving our local ones the opportunity to also be competitive outside the continent.
Absolutely.
And this is what I think we should. But that also boils down to how much investment that we are actually aiming to regulate our systems, and by using regulations and laws, support our local ones to grow.
And that's an excellent part that you talked about in terms of investments.
Yeah.
Because I believe when we look at the world outside the continent, there's a lot of money out there.
Absolutely.
Everybody's looking at trying to see how they can invest it back into the continent, and regulation becomes one of the key elements. I mean, because regulation brings in governance, regulation brings in integrity, it brings in trust, it brings in a lot of elements to tie that in. Now, talking about the continent, where do you see the fintech space going? I mean, because in the last, I think it's probably the last 2 years or 3 years that it has really all of a sudden bloomed and become, something that is now big talk in every corner. What do you see and what do you think?
You see, I think that Africa has actually proven beyond to the world that it's possible. I remember when M-Pesa started, people in the Western world believed that it wasn't going to survive. But today, we in Africa have seen our wallet generally as the basics to the base to every single transaction. Okay, so what I'm seeing is how the foreign dominance it's going to the foreign companies with a lot of resources are going to look at our wallet, connect to our wallet, and then build more products on our wallet that will actually deprive us from even having more of that cake. Now, having said that, I think that what we need to be looking at is how to be able to collaborate and partner across the continent. I should not be looking to enter a market like Kenya to develop my own system. It's technology. We should be able to partner. For example, my partnership with Flutterwave and Pagatech in Nigeria gives me access to the Nigerian market. My partnership with APG in Senegal gives me access to the Senegal market. My partnership with, let's say, with Equitel or Equity Bank in Kenya, FinServ, gives me access to the Kenyan market. This, for me, I feel it's the best way to charter the course than having to look for, having to go through regulations, having to pay money for licensing in every single country. I think the opportunity here is for us to now be able to harness or harmonize all our platforms.
It's interesting because the discussions have been going on about the Continental Free Trade Agreement, the African CFTA, which is literally a few months away from here, and we keep talking about it. And I think that's one of the challenges I have, is that a lot of discussions are always around just the trade aspect of it, and I think one of the things that has been missed out is the element of one, SMEs, because SMEs are actually the biggest chunk of movers. I call them the nomads of business. Secondly is the element in terms of banking and finance, because how are you going to get paid? If I'm going to come from Kenya to Ghana and trade, whether as a manufacturer or as an SME, what is going to be now the way we're going to work? And that's where I think ALEXpay and more so the fintech industry will come in, because you make it seamless.
Absolutely.
And then tying it back to the regulation, then you're able to also track. You're able to bring integrity in payment system. So do you think that is going to be where we're slowly, or probably in the next year or so, move faster in?
I think that is where we are supposed to go. That's how we are supposed to move. We are supposed to be moving towards building that ecosystem that allows just not the movement of goods, but also the movement of pay. I mean, how to get paid for the movement of goods. Okay. It's been very slow, I must say, but I think that it is time for us to also begin to assess the components of the CFT, right? Particularly in the area of payments within the sub-regions like ECOWAS, SADC, and all these other people. See what is available there and see how to build a common switch. See, when you build a common switch, what it means is that we can be able to have a common currency that speaks to all platforms. I mean, it's an e-value, right? And so this is where you find a lot of people beginning to talk about blockchain, crypto, and all those kind of things. But I think that once we are able to agree on the effects, the currencies, then we should be able to have a very good platform.
You've actually touched on something very interesting, blockchain and crypto. The world, I already say the world is in a very chaotic space, but it's also now becoming totally digital, everything. We're having humans becoming robots.
Yeah.
You have now monies becoming tokens that you tangibly are not holding or touching. What do you see happening now with businesses? I mean, I know without having to name banks, there are banks right now already looking at cryptocurrency as their new mode of payment, and it's being worked on. And this is where eventually we are going to move to. Where do you see fintech featuring in that?
I think every fintech that has a wallet has the ability to control crypto. Okay, it's a wallet-based thing. So if you have a wallet and then you feel that no matter what the wallet is able to actually resolve, what issue the wallet is able to resolve, then it becomes easier for you to incorporate crypto to it. You know, the interesting thing is that it is going to take a while for the benefit, I mean for the people, the customer or the consumers to accept crypto or blockchain
Yeah.
as a means of settling anything. But I mean, it happened before. I mean, if you looked at the era of barter trade,
Yes.
we accepted it. It was accepted. It was legal tenders,
Yeah.
right? And I think that the earlier we begin actually having that discussion, the better as a continent, because no matter what it is, I mean, other parts of the world is already happening.
Yeah.
And so at some point, it has to happen.
Yeah, it's basically first mover advantage.
Absolutely.
And I agree with that because as humans, as consumers, as businesses, there's always fear of the unknown when
Yeah.
you have to try something that is new. And like you rightly said, what we deem as a first world is already doing it.
Yeah.
And the idea is to move away from this whole hassle of transactions where you have to deal with a lot of paperwork. You've got to have accounts that you need to, when you're moving to an angle where you are in control of it, and I
Yeah.
think that's what the wallets do.
Absolutely.
Then you feel that you have a lot more information and a lot of control
Yeah.
in terms of that. And I think one of the other angles, and I see that with ALEXpay, having spoken to people, is this whole thing about the trust factor, because you are in control of what's happening. You know, unlike with what's happening with banks, where you're
Yeah.
leaving it to a relationship manager, you're leaving it, and you do not know a lot of times things
Yeah.
that are happening in the back that you are not a part of or not involved. So
Absolutely.
I think that is one of the great platforms. So as a final question, where do you want to take ALEXpay? Where do you see its future
Global.
without having to, because
Yeah.
it leads to the element of investments.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we see is that now investments are becoming a big thing. Whether fintech is getting a part of that share or not is another question.
Yeah.
So where do you see you would love to take ALEXpay, and is it a continent thing? Is it a global thing? And is it the flag bearer for Africa?
You see, I think that over the last 2 years, we have demonstrated to not just the people of Ghana, but also people who have subscribed to our platform, that we are looking to become the most social we want to be seen as a social intervention platform, where it's going to go beyond just transactions. It's going to be identifying the social needs and building solutions for that. For example, like I said, the crowdfunding. The crowdfunding actually allows us to, whether within Africa or in the diaspora, contribute to social causes, to it, be it health, be it agri, be it education, or whatever it is. I want to be able to solve those needs, and I want to be seen as that platform that also is fast, secure, reliable, and has the potential of serving everyone's needs in a customized manner. So for us, we want to be global. We want to be local. We want to become everyone's friend. And like I say to everybody, if you need anything, just let Alex do it.
absolutely. So
If
it's
you need payment, just let ALEXpay.
yep. So we have Alexa out there as the female.
Ah,
Now we have
Alex.
Alex here.
So Alexa will talk to you,
Alexa
and
will
then
talk to you,
ALEXpay.
and Alex pays it. So there you go. I
Absolutely.
think that is a very it obviously is a very wide scope, but all I can say is I wish you the best, because what you've been able to achieve over the last 2 years is phenomenal. I mean, I know on an international angle you have been under the radar of a lot of companies that want to partner you, a lot that want to invest and work with you. So it means you are doing something right. All we can say is we wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
And may you become, without having to name competitors or whatever, bigger and greater than them. And more so with the angle that you're taking in terms of making a social difference.
Absolutely.
They always say with the hand that gives, and with the intent, it always tends to receive. So unless you have anything
No, thank
else,
you so much. I would say, like I say, we are not the largest, but we are the smartest, and we are going to grow to become the largest being smart.
definitely, I love that.
Absolutely.
So great. Thank you very much, Alex. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
I appreciate it.